The Star Federation has reached its decision. Roger Wilco, please step forward. Roger Wilco, you have been judged guilty of the following crimes: abandoning your post, deviating from mission parameters, misuse of Starcon property, disintegrating a fellow officer, perpetrating a sequel without authorization, and consorting with a female of higher rank. Do you have anything to say for yourself before we pronounce sentence?
Can't you guys take a joke?
Do you have anything intelligent to say for yourself before we pronounce sentence?
Nope.
Very well. It is the opinion of this tribunal that as punishment for your crimes against the Starcon Federation, you are to be decommissioned. You are hereby stripped of the rank of captain. You are no longer an officer of the Starcon Federation. Your enrollment at Starcon Academy is hereby terminated. However, due to your successful return of the SCS Eureka, your rescue of the Goliath's crew, and the fact that nobody gets rid of stubborn mildew stains and black heel marks as well as you do, we are returning you to your former post with Starcon Fleet. You are hereby ordered to resume your duties immediately as janitor second class on board the SCS Deep Ship 86.
Attention all hands. This is your commander speaking. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your fine performance during our recent episode, A Stitch in Time Saves Gamma 9. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, 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 thank you. Thank you, 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 thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As a gesture of appreciation, we're putting in for shore leave on Polysorbate 60. Enjoy yourselves, and don't do anything I wouldn't do. Kielbasa out.
Meanwhile, in a deserted warehouse just outside the galaxy...
I don't care how you do it, gentlemen, so long as his body is intact. Do you understand?
Yes, we got it. Yes, right. Yes, right.
Good. Now, I believe you'll find him here, on Polysorbate 60, on a shore leave.
Okay, I'm ready. Energize.
As we join our hero, Roger Wilco, he has just been transported to the surface of Polysorbate 60 to enjoy a little shore leave. Apparently, there was a minor glitch in the process. Well, at least you got here with all your important parts, your hands, your mouth, and your stomach.
Oh, great. Real wonderful. Nice beam job, you metallic piece of scrap. Jeez, this is snug. Real snug. You know, it actually makes me feel kind of good. I remember when I used to wear my mom's, well, never mind. No time for nostalgia. I've got a serious extraction problem to work out first.
You're back in your comfy, reassuring janitorial duds. You pinch yourself to make sure this isn't all a bad dream.
I hope I never get so far gone that I end up talking to myself like this.
Seldom have you had the good fortune to get to know a street so up close and personal. You feel you have a real bond growing. Hey, that one has some legs. They're kind of spindly, but you sure have no room to criticize. He seems totally unfazed by your sorry attempt at communication. This guy looks like a vertically challenged Darth Vader. What does a thing like that do for fun? It just hums along, oblivious to your presence. Don't you hate that? Hey, that one looks familiar. It lacks a bit in the stature department, though. You're no Bruce Dern, buddy.
Thank you, my good man. Yikes, I hope everything came out with me.
It doesn't want you to do that. The street seems to reflect the same care and sense of community pride that the rest of the area enjoys. It looks like someone or something got just a little two-faced and wrecked a perfectly good Loadster 750, the Pinto of Polysorbate. Fire burns inside barrels along the streets. Apparently those using them are residents of planets a bit closer to the suns that they orbit. The temperature seems quite moderate to you, but then you do fancy yourself a studly guy. Too bad no one else shares that opinion. Bearing signs indicating the names of the streets which create this intersection, a light pole illuminates the area. What a mistake that is. Like anyone would want to see more of this place. This is an interesting billboard. You can't help but wonder what this Altera company markets. That's an interesting piece of hardware. Your normally dim power of recollection actually recalls having seen a picture of one of these in the ship library. Get this, It's called a bike. People used to actually get on these and use their own muscles to achieve locomotion. What losers. Upon closer inspection, you notice some sort of ID card hanging on the frame. Upon grabbing the ID card, you notice the picture on it is of a rather homely-looking alien type. Guess everyone can't be as fortunate as you. Don't bother. You can get rust anywhere. You'd think, if indeed you did, that a guy with the skin quality of a pachyderm wouldn't have a problem with this climate. Sure, you've been in space a long, long time, but it might pay to be just a little more discriminating. Deep inside, he chuckles to himself with the thought that you think he might actually care what you have to say. Rats! The cinema appears to be closed. You were really hoping to see Tango and Cash 27. The Cyclops Club doesn't appear to be doing business. The buildings around here have seen much better days. This must be the old part of town. If it isn't, you'd hate to see what is. Bootlicker appears to be open for business. This is the interior of Bootlicker. In keeping with most of the rest of the area, there is absolutely no frills in the decor. A camera covers every square centimeter around the clerk just for security measures. It's amazing what kinds of crimes people will commit to get some of Pa's special stock. They're protected in a hydrocarbonate polymer casing, making them impervious to most of the things a living organism could hurl at it. The shelves of this interesting establishment hold just about every kind of swill a buzz junkie could want. Of course, whether or not you would survive this stuff is another question. Were it working this device, it, as noted on its top, would supply ice.
Yikes, those liquid crystal displays. I still have nightmares about them.
It's Ursula K. Le Guinness Stout, a perennially popular refreshment and winner of last year's Nebu Ale Award. The imported stuff, like Sapernell and Major Kirin, is too syrupy for your tastes. There's no slowing down with a Silverberg bullet tonight. These cans of Heinleinekens have been sitting here since Lazarus. Heinleinekens, the strange beer in a strange can. Your mouth waters at the wine coolers, especially this wild Roddenberry-flavored stuff. Then again, a nice frosty Harlan Alison, a cold-filtered Beers Anthony, or a Marion Zima Bradley sounds good about now. Weekends were made for front lobe, and you wouldn't mind removing a few yourself. Look just behind the cans of HP Love Draft and Kilgore Stout. They've got a few cans of Meister Brautigan, the only beer made from watermelon sugar. Ooh, you got a good eye. This stuff is excellent. It's called Something Wicked Ale from Ray's Brad Brewery. These appear to be bottles of Alan Dean Foster's Draft Ale, but it's hard to tell because the labels are so faint. They must have been printed in draft mode. It's just some green stuff. Roger, you're enough of a mess when you're straight. Getting a buzz will certainly not help. This little flesh wad looks familiar. You wonder what he's doing here. Must have been a victim of the telecommunications wars. A stack of papers lay unattended on the floor. Apparently, Pa doesn't get in a big hurry to put stuff away. The headline reads, Lindbergh baby kidnapped. You really don't need those. Interesting magazines like This Old Planetoid and The Babes of Polysorbate occupy this space. Not a good idea. First, you're on R&R. Secondly, based on what you've seen so far, you really don't have the stomach for the Babes of Polysorbate. This is the old guy's protective check stand. Makes you feel real secure about the area. The drawer is Pa's way of transferring things from his side to your side, and vice versa. Pa keeps some of the more expensive stuff back here, like Jurassic Dark, Raymond E. Feisterbrow, and Samuel Douglas Adams. Pa Conshohocken sits behind the counter by his favorite possession, something he values greater than his own life, the cash register. Pa's been in business for quite a while, as his grizzled look might attest. It wouldn't be prudent to do that at this juncture.
Hi there.
Howdy there, partner. The name's Pa Conshohocken. Yeah, that's my name. I'm the proprietor of this here establishment here. Now, anything I can sell you, why, you just let me know. But if you steal anything, I'll be forced to kind of kill you. Welcome.
That sounds fair. So, Pa, what's the stuff behind you?
Oh, that, eh? Why, that there's the good stuff, sonny. I got some real fine stuff back here. Oh, yeah, I do. That's cold Saurian brandy. That's what that is. Best available in these parts here. Now, it's way out of your price range, I'm sure. It goes for 20 buckazoids per.
That's your current buckazoid collection.
Crud. It looks like I still don't have enough money. This is embarrassing.
The skyline is anything but beautiful. Flames burn off the gases that can't be contained in the short-sighted dumping facilities. If you weren't so simple-minded, you might actually be depressed by the sight. But then, it's not your planet, so why should you care? This is a case of street walking where the street itself possesses more of a threat than any other elements associated with it. What, do you want to get a scum souvenir sample to send back to the family? Tell you what, let's just act like you never thought it was a good idea, okay? This part of town is almost as glamorous as the rest. You wonder if there could be any connection between this kind of waste disposal and a thriving business like implants and stuff. Wow, that's kind of deep for you. Even you recognize the symbols on the barrels. And do you really need a nice supply of toxic waste? I think not. A very odd fixture occupies a good portion of this corner. Its purpose is irrelevant, as it seems to be the victim of a lack of maintenance and some sort of clinging mineral-like deposit, which have been laid down in several arch-shaped patterns. A sensible person would be afraid to find out what this caps off. That being the case, I'll take the liberty of telling you that it's something you don't want to mess with. Some wise sap closed up shop and jammed from this dying settlement.
Now, there's an establishment still in operation. With this climate, it's no wonder that people might need to track down replacement parts for even the most organic of the population. I wonder if, Nah, never mind.
Now there's an interesting sounding business name. You wonder what they sell? Interesting. She appears to be waiting for someone. She might be one of those professional ladies your mom told you about. You could never have enough Buckazoids, mop breath. She says, "Scrump off, you little felchmonger."
Those two look like people my mom warned me about. I think I should avoid them.
Not a good idea. Let's not, and say we did. Yikes! Can it be? Why, yes it is. It's Fester Blatz, former owner and proprietor of Fester's World of Wonders, a cheesy little tourist trap on the desert planetoid of Fleabot. The t-shirt looks, and unfortunately smells, like the same one he wore on Fleabot. He has the expression of someone enjoying a permanent wedgie. He has aged somewhat. Looks like he's grown a few more neck rings. These last few years have been rough on him. From what you remember of him, he used to be kind of an aqua blue. Now he looks like a used lug liner, or the color of a Borillion miner's loogie. The past few years have been no kinder to Fester than all the previous ones. He still has that nasal cavity molded look with no discernible skeletal features. Fester's from a rare rhinosupial species where the babies are born but climb into their parents' cavernous noses, where they continue to grow until they fall out from their sheer weight, or from a real good sneeze from their parental unit. So this is where old Fester ended up after the total collapse of the never-thriving tourist trade on that sandy planetoid Fleabot. He seems to know how to land on his feet, no matter how fungally challenged they may be.
Howdy, stranger. The name's Blatz, Fester Blatz. Welcome to Implants and Stuff. Go ahead, have a look around at some of the most interesting replacement body components this lovely planetoid has to offer.
Oh, a nice fresh sales pitch.
Go ahead and look around, partner. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have about my fine line of merchandise. Yes, sirree, have a look.
What's special about this Abby Normal guy? Good night, Mr. Feldman, wherever you are. I'm sure you'd love to be able to play with it. You've always wanted to. That just isn't on the agenda this game, Roger. It hurts your eyes to look at that. In fact, you feel a major headache coming on.
Oh, that one there's a beaut. Has a dang airbag built right in. It's great for when your beast's motor skills just aren't up to par. Oh, they were designed during the days of warp drive testing. They didn't always pick clean courses to test run in them days, and there would be an occasional warp speed asteroid strike, which of course resulted in a seriously non-graceful deceleration, you might say.
This one's labeled fresh. By the looks of things around here, fresh is a very relative term. Wow, an Apple II Plus running biorhythms. You thought IBM had rounded all those up and landfilled them decades ago, back when Apple started the push to open home computing to the public, making it fun and accessible. Don't mess with that. It's old.
Brain-dead products have been a staple of the home-built being hobbyist for decades now. They make a fine line of adapter plugs which allow for cross-species component swapping. Means you'll be able to pick up parts anywhere other beings exist. Nice deal, huh? They also make a pretty fine moddy. Get tired of what kind of mood your droid, or spouse for that matter, is in? Why, you just slap in one of those babies and bingo! You can modify them into a whole new attitude. Find a wife type who won't pay some big buckazoids for that. Too bad the sale of them is illegal. About all I do is trade for them. It's one of them loopholes, guess you could say. Kinda developed a hobby of collecting the suckers. Don't touch that sign, son. Now, wait a minute. There's something familiar about you. Yeah, I got him in a few months ago, fresh from the harvesting facility. Genuine dumb brand cranial stalks. Perfect for when just one or two accidental nicks from those amateur scalpels can render your home-built being useless as lips on a... Oh, never mind. Just rip out that old stalk and slam in one of these little beauties, and your home-built being will be carrying out your bidding in no time. Guaranteed. Well, geez, Guy, I seem to be a little short on these right now. Slide on by in a month or two, and I should be all stocked up again. I'm sorry about that.
The drawers seem to be crammed with Moddy's plug-in modification implants and the various adapters necessary to make them work universally. Pester has quite a collection of these, which is surprising. The sale of those things was banned years ago. It's a marketing device for dumb. They design and manufacture a wide variety of implants, prosthetics, and conversion attachment kits. Hopefully, their product is better made than their sign is. Don't screw with it. It's already on its last leg.
Yeah, sometimes when you do a lot of cranial work, you gotta replace the fluid so the old brain isn't just bouncing around in there like a BB. But then you're probably already used to that. Well, I tell you, I kind of hate the idea of opening that up right now. You see, we had a power outage a few weeks back, and my service hasn't gotten over here to clean it out yet. That cranial fluid is some skank spew when it warms up. Woo. Well, come on back by next week, and maybe we'll have some. Yeah, this is the only place on the planet to get a good lobe piercing, I tell ya. And even though we don't have to, we do use only Lorshan quality body part piercing products. Less chance of pus buildup and drainage that way. That stuff tends to dull the erythrium coating on the hardware.
That's not too wise. One should be prudent when one has so little to sacrifice in the first place. An empty tank of gen blood sits in the dust. A generic synthetic blood which was originally designed for use as a temporary blood substitute in the event of traumatic loss. It has become a favorite in the You Build a Beast Brotherhood. It's empty. Picking up useless items like that will only serve to clutter up your inventory window, pocket.
Them syringes you can use with lidocaine if you got some. Sometimes you gotta give old Butch a jump start right at first. Careful, boy. You don't want to be pricking yourself with one of those. They aren't approved for first species use. We pick them up used from organ pirates who specialize in harvesting stuff from battle zones. Wouldn't want you to go mentioning that to anyone, you understand.
Now you know what happened to the infamous R2 line of droids. They've been reduced to carrying out the most trivial of tasks. Pester's using one for a gen blood blender. How sad. The R2 line of droids seemed like the hottest thing going in their day. Then they found that one little flaw in the programming. Unfortunately, the princess's personal life will never be quite the same. It's the Do Beam Inn, but I'm sure they accept pedestrians also. The door hinges aren't exactly overheated from a steady flow of eager patrons. There's only one way to find out if they mean what they say. Nice place, if you're a fan of dives. At some time in a life that might have existed eons ago, these ghosts of flora past might have been called plants. No, I don't think so. We're pretty good about letting you carry a lot of junk around, but you really don't need this. Mother Teresa, the Pope, and Jimmy Carter could all talk to this plant until they were blue in the face and beating on each other, and it would still do no good. Ah, this place still has those old-style ray projection infomercial viewers. What rubes. The proprietor will never give up the remote. The couch and chair seem to be made of some of the universe's finest Elvatine material, the official velvet of the Presley estate. Don't bother. The best upholsterers in Tijuana couldn't help with these things. Those are some interesting-looking dudes. Must be a couple of real losers, since they seem to be dateless. Of course, that won't be a problem for you once word gets around that you've hit the planet. Can you believe he actually thinks that? An elevator! Boy, this place has everything. The desk, while mimicking some control console look, serves as not much more than a place for the desk clerk to rest his heavily bunioned hind feet. You give the counter a tap, mistakenly assuming that the being behind it actually cares what you want. An electronic proximity sensor-activated bell, probably used to signal for attention, rests on the counter. You give the bell a pass with your hand. The manager doesn't exactly spring to life in response, but he does stir a bit and grant you a segment of one eye. That's the manager of this little slice of heaven. He looks like he's an expert on energy conservation, mainly his. He seems to be ignoring you.
Excuse me. I'd like a room, please.
Really? I mean, really? Well, I think we got one or two for a couple of $100 buckazoids a night. In advance, you understand.
I believe I have a prepaid reservation provided me by StarCon.
I got no reservations from any StarCon. I got no reservations, period. I do a cash business. You want a room, cough out the buckazoids.
So that's, 200. Well, okay.
200? Don't you listen, son? I said 300. That's 300 a night. And I don't include any weird pets. Them's extra.
I could have sworn you said...
You calling me a liar? I don't need no guff from the likes of you. This is the finest lodging on the planet, son. If you don't like the prices, you can just take your sorry, pinkish carcass out of here.
Well, 300? Okay. But give me your finest room then.
The finest room. Yeah, right. You got it, buckaroo. Best in the house. Coming right up. Pay up, and we're in business. I'm busy, son. When you give me 300 buckazoids, then we'll talk. I'm real busy. See ya! Hey, what's the deal? Come back when you get some more allowance, sonny.
It's the alien ID you snagged from that rusty bike. That's a fairly hideous picture of the former owner. It makes the average Department of Motor Vehicles photographer look like Ansel Adams.
Forget it. I don't give no discounts no matter who you belong to.
That's the inn's transaction register.
Hey, keep your grubby mitts off that. Have a nice day.
It says, if you have a buckazoid, give a buckazoid. If you need a buckazoid, take a buckazoid. Not too surprisingly, it's empty. It's empty, without content, void of mass, a state you're familiar with.
Hey, where you going, son? That's for paying customers only.
Now this place seems to be a little more interesting. Messy, but interesting. Noise emanating from the two establishments here indicates there might actually be something fun going on inside.
Engage. Open the pod bay door, Hal.
Do you have any idea how ridiculous that was? Of course not. No brain, no pain. The street's a little bit cleaner here. It does have that peculiar burn crater just under the traffic signal. A mechanical traffic light diligently maintains control over the nearly non-existent traffic in the area. Real cute. Climb the pole and switch the signs. How juvenile. But then again, we're talking about you. Nonetheless, forget it. There's almost no traffic to confuse anyway. The puddle looks like water, but on this orb you just never can tell. The streetlight adds illumination to an area that really would be better off without it. The street names look familiar. Must have been something from a past life. The sidewalks here, with a few exceptions, are a bit clearer in this area. The flaming barrels remind you of the good old days, kicking back in the sandy outback of Corona, roasting grell burgers over a lit rocket nozzle. Life was so simple then, but then so are you. Apparently, some things don't change. Some inconsiderate slob has littered the streets with the debris once contained within this barrel. If only you'd gotten here a little earlier, you could have been the inconsiderate slob. Better luck next, thief. Sometimes it's hard to tell which looks stranger, the ship or the being piloting it. You won't know in this case, though, since this seems to have been abandoned for quite some time. The pilot of this craft employed a truly creative parking technique. By the looks of it, they'd been a patron of Orion's Belt immediately prior to executing this fine parking job. Sweet sentiments, urban style. Ah, an arcade. You haven't been in an arcade in at least a sequel or two. How cute. It has a really big replica of a coin slot. This arcade, known to the locals as Dismembers Only, is filled with lowlifes, druggies, and juvenile delinquents from all over the galaxy. And those are just the employees. Now that's an interesting specimen. Is this place the backwoods of the universe or what? Interesting head formation. He looks like one of those cranium suckers you saw in a scary movie once. Guess that means you'll be safe. This rough, tough cream puff is positively myrtleizing that machine. That's one hefty teenager. Must be from the Mariposa planetoid. Another in the wide variety of life forms you've seen on this planet. This guy just stands there, looks, and fires an occasional lunger. How did all these forms manage to come together in one place? Normally, you'd have to travel light years to run into just a few different life forms. This place has the odds beaten big time. This little purple being is kicking fanny on this game. He's built up an audience. Anything that shortens this guy's lifespan probably makes the universe a safer place. This guy looks like a well-used railroad spike. Perhaps the rust and mushroomed head give it away. This is one of those exciting racing games where you careen around corners at top speed, zoom over crumbling bridges, run over passers-by, collide with other vehicles, and fly off the track. It's called Virtual Amtrak. It's last year's hot arcade punch-em-up, more dull combat too. It's hard to see with this big oaf in front of it, but this looks like the hot new game, Beat the Crap Out of Urkel. It replaces last year's smash game, Beat the Crap Out of the Encyclopedia Britannica kid. You know, the one that keeps saying, "Ouch, you broke my mandibula." In this game, you have to play basketball in a three-piece suit, barefoot, while avoiding deadly athlete's foot fungus growing on the court. It's called NBA Toe Jam. An overhead screen advertises a new kiddie-level arcade game in which you walk around Calcutta trying to match the right body part with the leper who lost it. It's called Mixed Up Mother Teresa. This humongous expensive game is an all-time favorite. You have to duplicate famous gourmet dishes while piloting vintage combat aircraft against the Nazi menace. It's called Secret Recipes of the Luftwaffe. These lava screens from Magmetheus show soothing visuals while playing hot techno-lava tunes like, "What's lava got to do with it? You always hurt the one you lava. And just let your lava flow." Look, it's the hot new game, Stooge Fighter 3. It's supposed to be the goriest, most violent arcade game since Disemboweling for Dollars.
No way! I don't want to get any of that on me.
Not now. It's intensely involved in its game. That's not recommended. That'll either get an appendage removed or a date you really don't want.
So this is Stooge Fighter 3. Doesn't look so tough to me.
Say, partner, care to indulge in a friendly game? By the way, the name's Jerkwad. What's your mama call you?
A mistake. But my friends call me Roger. Roger Wilco.
Well, it's darn fine to meet you, Roger. So, what do you say to a friendly little round of Stooge Fighter 3?
Gosh, Mr. Jerkwad, that sounds neat.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Oh, a wise guy. 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 See that? Hit that. No, no, no. Oh, a wise guy. Oh, a wise guy. Oh, a wise guy. No, no, no. No, no, no. Oh, a wise guy. Oh, a wise guy. No, no, no. No, no.
Twilly Joe wins. Rumble.
Oh, a wise guy. See that? Hit that. See that? Hit that. Oh, a wise guy. No, no, no. Oh, a wise guy. Oh, a wise guy. Oh, a wise guy. See that? Hit that. No, no.
Twilly Joe wins the match. Untainted victory. Team winner.
Wow, man. I guess I got real lucky. Or maybe you were holding back on me. Nah, you wouldn't do that, would you? You don't look that bright. I mean, that probably isn't your style. Wanna play again?
Not now, thanks.
Another Orion's Belt franchise. That's one place you have yet to be banished from. I'll bet that's the finest neon sculpture on the whole corner. The only way customers could see out of that place is to break some holes. That's some seriously dirty glass. Heck, it might not even be glass. The constantly dripping atmosphere could have carried down corrosives which ate away the glass, leaving a mineral-like residue behind. A petrified window, if you will. Yep, it sure feels opaque. This door doesn't appear to have been used in quite some time. With the exception of the strip here, this place is nigh on to being a ghost town. This guy looks friendly now. Try to keep it that way. Have you already forgotten the warning from the Eyes message? Pay attention.
Hello, Mr. Bouncer?
He pays very little attention. You're pretty used to it. But someday... It would appear that once again, Vice is a bit more profitable than most business ventures. This place is almost too hip for the planet. But then, that's no mean feat, given what a total heap this place appears to be. This is the main floor of the Swank Lounge, Orion's Belt. This seems to be where things are happening for the slightly seedier beings of the city. As you can see, there's a pretty good cross-section of the regional population represented here. The floor has the universal tacky spill, drink, and stomach contents feel to it. No sense in looking. In fact, it would be in your best interests not to. The floor has that universal tacky spill, drink, and stomach contents feel to it. The subtle and well-designed lighting scheme distorts dimensional perception and creates an atmosphere conducive to the consumption of the very products this establishment peddles. What's with the interior designer's spew? You need to give some serious thought to changing reading material once you're back aboard ship. Pick up a popular Janitronics or the special Ports Illustrated tool belt issue. Seriously. The large L-shaped bar, what you can see of it, looks quite spiffy. A guy could slide a mug of Coronian ale miles on that surface. An interesting arrangement of conduits creates an almost artistic pattern to the back bar area. It's hard to tell what is merely decorative and what is functional. A wide variety of concoctions fills the shelves behind the bar. There's probably something there to provide a buzz for just about any organic system. Some of your personal favorites: Babylon 45, Watney's Red Planet, and Starbeck. Starbeck, it makes you go where no man has gone before. What a Boss blender. I'll bet they can make all kinds of foo-foo drinks in that. The refrigeration unit blends well with the design scheme. Hey, when did you start knowing things like that? Looks like this big furry dude is laying out his best Orlanian pickup lines for the Ice Queen. It appears she's not fielding any of them. So this is where Sinead O'Connor's been hanging out. Yikes! I'll bet even old Fester Blatz hasn't seen one of these. You recognize the uniform of the Fistal Hemisphere Alliance. This guy has an interesting cranial configuration. Unlike that popular trunk-bearing pachyderm on that planet Earth, this guy seems to actually be drinking through his trunk. That means he's drinking through his nose. Yuck! This rather large individual with the headphones seems to have tuned this place out. I wouldn't. He's busy trying to score, and he's a lot bigger than you. You figure out the consequences of that. Geez, Roger, when will you learn? In the past, that kind of behavior has led you to being sliced, diced, compacted, compressed, pureed, digested, inverted, carbo-gelatinized, and other stuff just as interesting. It's a little early in the game to be getting your can creased. You're in a public place. Have some manners. Their conversation continues uninterrupted by you. She acts as though you don't exist. It's a familiar feeling. He can't hear you, and more importantly, probably doesn't want to. Now there's an interesting look. What can be said that isn't painfully obvious? That she'll look better come closing time. This guy's the next in line for the restroom. He looks a little anxious. It's one of several people dying to get into the restroom. This guy wishes he had a clothespin right about now. Yep, it's the fourth guy in line for the restroom. Definitely standing room only. It's unwise to mess with someone so in need of relief. I wouldn't risk talking to one of these folks. They might just turn to face you. A quick look indicates that the bartender is physically well-balanced and adroit. A good combination for this profession. The shirt would further indicate that he has the mentality for it.
What can I do for you there, fella?
What have you got?
Well, aside from the obvious stuff which is glaring in your face from the back wall here, I do make some mixed drinks. I mean, if I do say so myself, I make a pretty mean William Gibson and a pretty good ass-em-off cocktail, you know what I mean, huh? Hey, I got you. Try a fuzzy toe jam. They seem to be pretty popular with your particular species here. Okay, you got it, pal. Hey, back off here! Only trained professionals like yours truly are allowed to operate the Turbo Mincer LS, huh?
It's one of those new Kodrak mobile photo booths. I heard they were beta testing those. You pop a coin in the slot and climb on in.
All right, I'm looking pretty good. Fire away. There's got to be an optics problem with that machine. I look partially digested.
Good thing you didn't opt for that second set of prints after all. Guess that guy won't be filing any complaints with the Portable Business Association.